I got asked this question a while ago on Instagram, and I'm finally getting around to answering it. And by the way, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at The Real Love Alchemist. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Lindsay. I am The Real Love Alchemist, and I help you go from bad relationships to real love. If you want to learn more about working with me, click on the link in the description. Okay, so let me read the question first, and then I'll give you my perspective on it. This person said, "Hi, thank you for your post. I have always been with men who insisted on paying, but I've started seeing someone where it seems like it will be 50-50. I'm struggling financially for a number of reasons and simply can't afford to do this. He earns much more than I do also. It feels like a deal breaker for me and honestly makes him less attractive to me. Maybe it's a conversation to be had with him, as he will ask me why I don't want to continue seeing him." And she also said, "To be clear, I'm working hard on projects, but currently simply cannot afford to go 50-50 on dates as I have no extra money." Okay, this is a great question, and it's something that's so important to talk about when it comes to dating for real love and healthy relationships, because there's a lot that goes into this. So let me start by saying I have two minds about this. So clearly I'm a woman, and I'm not dating now, but when I was dating, I did think a lot about this. And there is a part of me that very much would love to be wined and dined, taken care of financially, not have to pay, really, if I'm honest, anything in a relationship. That's like a real part inside of me. And it took me a while to be honest with myself about that, to be real and say, like, yeah, I actually do have that part of me that is more traditional and would love that. And I'm still not sure today whether that is like a younger part of me that does just really want to be taken care of, or if that's just a more traditional part of me that really liked that dynamic of just staying at home and being taken care of. I did actually go through, I forgot about this, I did go through a time in my life where that was the case, where I was just not working for a while, staying at home and focusing on my healing back when I was married. So that's one part of me, right? But when I was dating, let's see, back in 2019, 2018, 2020, around that time, there was this other part of me that I would say was a more realistic part of myself that looked around the world, looked around at the situation that was going on economically, and seeing that if I was going to have the kind of relationship that I wanted, I would probably have to compromise on some of these old school ideals that I had about wanting the man to pay for all the dates and just be taken care of financially. Because the more I thought about it, the more I realized that, well, yes, there is this part of me that does want to be taken care of in a sense financially and have the man be paying all the time. There's still this other, just as important part of me, and maybe even stronger part of me, that wants an equal relationship, an equal partnership. And if I was really honest with myself, I didn't want to be in this kind of dynamic where the man was kind of coming in and having sort of that financial control over me. Now, this wouldn't be a dynamic where someone was abusing me in any way, but when you're in a relationship where you don't have much financial ability yourself, you don't have as much freedom. You don't have as much freedom to leave a relationship that isn't good for you or healthy for you. It does limit you. And so I realized I actually want more of an equal relationship. And I had to look around at the state of the world and see that women are actually making a lot of money these days. This isn't the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, where women didn't have money. And so of course a man was going to come and pay for all the dates because a woman just literally did not have the funds to do that. It's very different now. This is 2023. Women make really good money for the most part. Men sometimes don't make as much money as women. Now, of course, there are still exceptions to this, but in general, I had to realize that this was a very different world, this financial landscape of modern times. And I got very real with myself, and I realized that if I was holding out for someone who was going to pay for all of the dates all of the time, I would actually really be limiting myself in the dating pool. I would probably lose out on a really great person who maybe couldn't afford to pay for me all of the time, but could pay for some of it. And so what I realized is financially, I wasn't so concerned about finding somebody who had that ability to always pay for everything. I realized that more what I was looking for is someone who was generous with what they have, a generosity of spirit. Because the reality of money is you can make money, you can lose money, money can come and go, but generosity was more of the quality that I was looking for. Because you can have a lot of money and be not generous with it. You could be very stingy with it. And that wasn't the dynamic I was looking for. I wanted someone who was very generous and open with what they did have. So when I started dating my current partner, we were both not in a great position financially. I was in the beginning of my business, wasn't making a ton of money yet. He wasn't making that much money either. And so we really didn't have that much. But what I was looking for was, again, generosity. And not just financial generosity, but generosity with his time, his attention, and with what he did have. And I saw that in him. He was generous with his time, with his affection, and with his funds. I'm trying to remember one of our early dates. So we met in COVID times, and it was long distance in the beginning. And so he would drive up to see me a lot, and it was like a 6-hour or so drive. And he paid for all of that, paid for all the gas. I think the first time we met, so it was COVID, and so we were doing like a social distance date, but we ordered some pizza, and I ended up paying for the pizza. I wanted to. This was my way of showing my appreciation for him driving all the way up there. And so that's really what I was looking for. He drove up to see me a lot and never asked me to contribute anything. And so I would do little things like that because, again, I realized that I wanted an equal partnership. I wanted to also be generous with my time, my attention, and the money that I did have. And so that's kind of how we went along. As we got more serious and we ended up moving in together, I think we initially split everything 50-50 because we were at that point about equal in our earning capabilities. We were earning about the same amount. Now, as time went on and he was earning more than me, we shifted that. We changed how much we each contributed. So when he was earning more, he contributed more to the shared expenses and I contributed less. So really we made it work so that we both felt like we were not taking advantage of each other, but contributing what we could. So in this situation, the person that asked this question, it sounds like you'd have to do some asking. I know this is probably way too late for this situation, but you'd probably have to ask about how this person does view finances in a relationship and what it would look like if they were married to somebody. Like, would this person want to still always split everything 50-50? Because what might be happening here is this person may not be very generous with their money. And I could understand that would be a deal breaker for you. I can completely understand that. And it might be for me too, because there is something about when somebody earns so much more money than you and they're asking for it to be 50-50. When you're moving towards a more serious relationship and when you're moving towards marriage, it starts to not feel very good. It starts to feel like this person really isn't that invested in you, invested in the relationship. And yeah, like I said, I don't blame you for this being a deal breaker for you. But as far as like very generally who should pay on dates, I don't have rules about this because for every person, it's going to be different. I like to see a man offer to pay on a first date as like a nice gesture, but I don't expect it to be something extravagant. Like coffee dates are a great first date. Something that doesn't cost very much, but just gives you a chance to meet, see if there's something there, see if you even enjoy each other's company. And yeah, it's a nice gesture for a man to offer. So it gives, as a woman, you get a little bit of that traditional chivalry, but you're not asking so much of that person. You're not asking them to take you out on this super expensive, like 5-course meal date. That, I think, would be a bit much in these modern times. The economy is not great right now. A lot of people are struggling to make ends meet and to pay their bills. And so I don't think that as a woman dating in 2023, it would be realistic to expect to always have a man pay for you on a date. Because you might be like me. You might realize that in the end, it actually really isn't about the money. It's actually feeling like somebody cares about you and they put their energy into you and the relationship, and they're generous with the things that they do have. So when I talk to my clients about dating strategy, I do tell them to go into the date with the expectation that you might be splitting that bill, especially if you're a woman. Now, it's always a nice surprise if someone treats you. Like I said, I do think that that's a great gesture for a first date, not something too expensive, but to be prepared, because again, a lot of people are struggling these days, and they really, like this person who wrote in, they really cannot afford to spend so much money on dates. That being said, it's totally cool if that's not the dynamic that you're looking for. If you want somebody to take more care of you financially, then that's totally fine. Go ahead and do that. But what I would tell you is that really might limit the options that you have for good quality compatible partners. Because if you're a man watching this video, you might be saying like, yeah, I don't have the funds to always be treating someone on dates. And if this is going to be a serious relationship that you're moving into with this person, I think it's really important to start talking about finances pretty early on. Not that you're going to reveal every single thing about yourself, but you can start talking to somebody after a couple dates where it's like maybe you're splitting it, you're not sure what's going to happen, maybe they're treating, it's just a little unclear. You can ask them like, hey, how do you feel about splitting things moving forward? Or like, what's your dating philosophy for taking someone out? Like, if you ask them out, do you always pay? Do you expect the other person to pay? Like, how does that work? You can ask those questions and get the answers that you're looking for. Because finances can be really uncomfortable. And the more that you talk about it, the more open you are with it, the easier it gets, and the more information you get as to where somebody stands with finances and dating. And it's also really important to ask these questions early on so that you avoid a situation where you feel like maybe you're being taken advantage of financially, or the other person does seem really withholding of their time, their money, their affection, their attention. That's something you want to avoid. So it really helps to ask these questions, to talk about it, and then sit back and watch. Sit back and see if this person is generous in their spirit. And this goes for men too. If you're dating a woman and you find that she always just wants to be taken care of and she's really not giving you much, then that's probably not a person that's going to make a good partner for you. So that's kind of my evolution in thinking of this, through this process of who should pay for dates. Like, yes, there's still that part of me that would love it, that would love to be taken care of in that way. But again, there's that more realistic part that says, like, looking around at the world, that's probably not going to happen. And again, it's going to weed out people who would actually really make me happy. And so today I'm in a relationship where my partner doesn't make a ton of money, but he does okay. But again, it's not actually about the money. It's more about the generosity. And he is incredibly generous with what he does have. And that's what makes me happy. Speaking of dating strategy, if you've ever felt like you get attached way too quickly and you're trying to slow that down and dial that back, this video is for you.